Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on 3 like that, can you?
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Last year, bumped up 10% for the season tickets here. The Bears this year going up by 13.5%. When is too much where it just comes like, I'm just going to sit at home on my couch and not be charged anything and enjoy my day, Joe?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you'll see it because there'll be a lot of empty seats in that stadium, Donnie, and then you'll know when the line has been drawn.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions. Only.
Decisions. We are live on SportsGrid on a Friday night. Great to have you with us here. Kevin Walsh from the Decisions Desk, and we have got a couple of decisions to make on the hardwood. The college basketball world is actually getting ranked action underway. It's Miami of Ohio. It's Western Michigan in the MAC as Miami of Ohio is trying to finish out an unbeaten regular season, 28-0. An 11.5-point favorite tonight. A win here will set them up with 2 more to go. Toledo and Ohio. If you look right now for Miami O, in terms of projected point spreads, this is maybe the lightest of the remaining 3. None are 15 plus, but none are also going to likely be 5 or shorter. It's looking realer and realer that this team is actually going to be 31-0 through the regular season. I need to double-check the MAC conference tournament bracket and get an idea of how that sets up for them. Let's see if we have what the first round bye. Oh, so there's no buys. So they'll have to play a quarterfinal game and then a Friday night semifinal game. They'll be favored to win both. 33-0 going into a championship game. Are they clean? Are they clear? We still don't really know. A lot of the numbers still do not love this team. What I think is very likely between myself and our team in the back feels like one we play live. Not on it pregame. Didn't even have much of a strong lean, really. But I think it's one we jump in with. A game that we are going to play pregame, and I'm sure many of you will as well. It is Illinois and Michigan. Where is best team in the Big Ten up for grabs tonight? Maybe not. Maybe that's Michigan regardless. I think one line implications have to be up for grabs, though. I mean, they just have to be. We talked about it at length yesterday as relates to UConn St. John's. And people saying, well, the Huskies and the one line, Huskies in the one line. Well, Illinois, right now, 4th in the net, 4th in KenPom, has a win already, at Purdue, right? The same win that Michigan grabbed Oh, and then the same win that Michigan State grabbed. Let's just take a pause for a second and think about yesterday's result, where Sparty became the latest team to step up to the plate to tell everybody this Purdue team is not a national title contender. Haven't been all year. Certainly aren't right now. Being 22-6 is totally fine. It's exactly what Illinois is. Losing to Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, Iowa State, in a singular vacuum, sure. Losing to all of those teams in your building, or to any of them in your building, in a vacuum, sure. All four? All four? How is that defensible? Surely, how? I mean, I don't mean to pick on those who played Purdue tickets because this was the preseason number one. They were supposed to be something that they just are not. And their national title odds moved backwards after yesterday's result. Probably not far enough. As this is a Purdue team that has a good floor. They're probably going to win a tournament game, maybe two. But at the end of the day, when we're breaking down Final Four action, Purdue's name won't be anywhere near that. I'm excited for the college game tonight. Excited for the college games this weekend. A lot of good stuff. You know, we're going to have you covered on college basketball today. The NBA is a fascinating one tonight. It's the Pistons and the Cavs starting things off. A big game on the East. And it's still in the East, I should say. Excuse me. It's still a little confusing to me as to who exactly is playing for the Cavs. It turned out Donovan Mitchell's absence against Milwaukee wasn't just a back-to-back thing, as Spida is out for this game. I still truly don't understand the James Harden stuff. He missed the Milwaukee game. He's questionable here tonight. I do not think we have any official word as to whether Harden will play in this game. We do have James Harden props, though, being listed by the books. I don't know, like, is the thumb injury not going to impact? Maybe it's going to impact nothing? That feels odd to me. Books don't seem to think so. Mobley will play. We're seeing a 7-point number. Feels maybe a tick heavy if Harden plays. I think it feels like a bounce heavy. But I haven't played it yet because I don't know if Harden's going to play. We know SGA returns tonight. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the reigning league MVP and finals MVP. Yesterday, we got this news live here on the show, and we talked about how the Shai price to win MVP almost doubled. Minus 130s became minus 250s. We do not have an official clean word as to what the minutes will look like for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I think market opinion is pretty split as to whether or not you should be playing Shai over his numbers or not. It is remarkable that Shai returns for a head-to-head with Nikola Jokic, the truest contender that Shai has for a repeat MVP award, as the Joker right now is having himself another fantastic season. Yet, he himself may be a little up against it tonight. We know they will not have Aaron Gordon. I do not know if they will have Jamal Murray. I will tell you guys this. We will come in, we will break these games down, okay? But some of this NBA slate, I can't get there, right? Especially games of this magnitude until we get more information. You know, the NBA game time decisions, they really go hand in hand because they don't tell us as much as we would like to know. We can have leans, and we will break, again, Thunder Nuggets down quite a bit, but there's some very important information still missing around this game. The total has been climbing throughout the day up to 233.5 from around 230 and a hook. Your other three games on the NBA slate tonight: Boston, Brooklyn, 2 touchdowns and a field goal for the Celtics as they get back home. You have the Knicks and the Bucks, where New York looks to bounce back after getting rolled up by Cleveland on the road. And then Memphis and Dallas, where, once again, Cooper Flagg is out. And the NBA Rookie of the Year price has fully shifted. We talked about this quite a bit heading into the second half, and here we are. Con Knippel, Cooper Flag, minus 115 either direction. Some very real regret for me personally, as I did not click on the plus 500. Yet, I will at least be appreciative that I talked about it a lot and referenced the legitimacy of the wager. The issue for Cooper Flag isn't just the fact that he's not playing games, but it is that Con Knippel keeps playing games, as he yesterday set the rookie record for most threes made in a single season, and he did so in a game where he made 8 threes. The Hornets won their third straight. Con scored 28 overall, and Knippel is set up to become one of the greatest three-point shooters in the history of the NBA. I do not believe that that is overreacting at all, by the way. I think Con Knippel is a lock right now to be top 5 when he retires in career-made threes. We've got some NHL, we've got some NFL news, we've got plenty to get into tonight, folks, but we dive in. It's Michigan, it's Illinois, it is a battle in the Big Ten, and it is next, right here on Game Time Decisions.
Tanking is hurting the NBA right now too, and what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
I actually, and I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, Game Time Decisions, with you here on a Friday night. Kevin Walsh, and we have got a massive showdown between Illinois and Michigan. I want to just try and set this stage again, as we did a little bit yesterday. The talk around 1 seeds. Duke, Michigan, Arizona, the belief of those teams who have a combined 6 losses is they will all end up right now with a spot on the 1 line. And I tend to agree with that assessment. Oh, fantastic. So right here, and this is great. Maybe let me know where you pulled this from. But Duke is minus 175 to be the number 1 overall seed. That is just a flip. Okay, so this was a FanDuel market. This was something that happened because they beat Michigan. Arizona sits 3-1, Wolverines plus 370. Notice how there isn't another team, right? Like that. This is where it's a 3-team race for the number 1 overall seed, and they're just all going to be number 1 overall seeds. What I would say, by the way, with that market is Duke right now is a team who is not expected to lose again, but they do not necessarily have an easy path. Home against Virginia, at NC State, home against North Carolina. Those are 3 of the most difficult games they could possibly play in this league, but they will be double-digit favorites in all of those games, especially if Caleb Wilson isn't back for the game to close out the regular season. And then they're going to be big favorites to win that conference tournament. Look, the point is, what those 3 teams have in common is they are all, in some order, 1, 2, 3 in the net and on KenPom. So Illinois at 4 on KenPom and in the net. You would like to imagine that this Illinois team can absolutely get to the 1 line. I do think they need to win tonight. I believe that. But I think Illinois will, as we look to just lock in a couple of extra wagers here and make sure that we're dialed in for this one tonight. Plus 105 looks to be the best price we're seeing right now on Illinois in the market. Chris specifically in the back is always very, very good at finding out those things. We'll get to this in a second. Harden ruled out tonight. Out. No James Harden. That number will move. So we'll get to that in a bit, okay? Why do I think Illinois wins this game? I think we know offensively they're going to be just fine. Because Purdue against Michigan was fine. And Illinois is just a better Purdue, right? They're just a gutty, actually get the job done Purdue. I know Purdue didn't have a great opening half against Michigan. That's really where they lost that game. I don't think that'll happen with Illinois, who have been demonic in the first half, especially in their most recent efforts. My goodness, against USC, scoring 54, and then against UCLA, I know they lost, scoring 50. This is a Illinois team who will come out and set the tone, and it puts Michigan in a spot where I think Michigan's great. I'm not acting like Michigan is incapable of it. But I just think that this Michigan team is almost being asked too much in this spot. In the way that I discuss Purdue and how I personally do believe it is embarrassing that they have played 4 elite teams in their building and have lost all 4. I think that's embarrassing. Michigan, on the other hand, should not be required to go on the road to every single great team in this conference and win. They won at Michigan State. They won at Purdue. Those are great victories. I don't think they complete that sweep. I think Illinois has a very, very high offensive floor. I think that total is so wrong. And listen, it happens. That total is 17 points wrong. I just almost reassessed my entire betting card. Scrap the whole thing. We love the over. I mean, that is pretty good. That is pretty good. 159.5 is your. I had to show that a couple times to get me to realize 159.5 is your listed total in Illinois, Michigan. I really, really like the Illini here. I think they're going to get the job done. I do think Yaxel Lendenborg's a fascinating watch. Yax in his last 2 games. Against Duke, he plays 39 minutes, scores 21 points, and was the tone setter in that first half, and really the only thing that revived Michigan in the second half. I mean, he was so clearly their best player. I think you could even make a bit of a case if you wanted. He was the best player in the game. I think there was just a drought where he ultimately wasn't, but he was fantastic. He followed that up by only taking 3 shots against Minnesota. They were all from beyond the arc. Only scored 3 points. Did Lendenborg pour so much into that Duke game that it took a bit out of him and he just didn't have it for Minnesota? And can he then get up for tonight's game is a really big question for me. Because in the biggest game that Michigan has played all year, when I look at who was super ready for the moment, Lendenborg stood out by far. I thought Mores Johnson was really ready. Ademara would have been had he been able to stay on the floor. He couldn't get out of foul trouble. If Lendenborg doesn't bring it tonight, I actually think Ilroy could make it look ugly. I think that's on the board. I really like Ilroy. I played him at plus 105. And I'll tell you this right now from a best bet perspective, featured by our guy AJ for a best bet. Got him. Clearly, he got in earlier at a better price. Love that for him. That's fine by us. We are on the Illini money line. I look at some of these other best bets here. It's ridiculous. You know what? Just come on. Let's just get it over with. Josh Doan anytime goal plus 290. I mean, really, did he get a point in the first game back? I mean, unbelievable with this guy. Tell you this though, the best bet of the 4 up there, not even my own. Chris with a sharp Peyton Pritchard look, really, really sharp. We'll talk some NBA after the break on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Well, I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
Friday night on SportsGrid. Let's get your producer play on the board. Just one. It's the quickest they've ever taken a graphic. I mean, just so quick. They're just so quick. I mean, what a team. Niagara first half, team total over 29.5. They're playing Quinnipiac. They moved this game out of... They moved it. People thought, hey, is this game in Jersey? You mean the team from New York and team from Connecticut? You won't believe it. It's not in Jersey tonight. Awesome. We can get in the mix, man. That was one of the great moments. That's one of the things that really helped these guys. One of their main caps was, is this game in New Jersey? Once they found out it wasn't, which was the big upset. I wonder what makes them like Niagara. Should I do a quick cap of this one here? Quinnipiac is one of the fastest teams in the country. Much respect. You love when a MAC team brings the pace, and they are certainly bringing the noise right now. So that's good. They can play defense, though. That's worrisome. Niagara, oh my gosh. Niagara's the literal slowest team in college basketball. The literal slowest team in college basketball. Wow. Honestly, I have no respect for this Niagara team. Absolutely none. Let's get eyes on when these teams last played. Just to see what it looked like. Just to get an idea. Surely the game didn't go under by 20. Surely it didn't go under by 20. 137.5 last time they met. Final score, 56-55. Oh, did they play that one in New Jersey? That might have been it. The Trenton Air might have got to the fellas. Honestly, this could be sharp look of the year. That's what the Citadel was. That's the real issue. Wow. Hey, you want to talk about you talk about a Niagara team to score 30 in the first half. You know, because that's one of the things. You know who allowed Niagara to score 30 in the first half? Iona. And now I'm realizing the lesson here. This was all just to get at me, and I don't like it. Not right. Not right. So we do have the matchup between Western Michigan and Miami of Ohio on. We mentioned our best bets here from the team. Listen, Sam and the hockey, you know it's coming. It's Josh Doan. It's an anytime goal. I will say this. Yesterday was like, I'm going to retire from the hockey. Then my main look, which was the Penguins to beat the Devils on the puck line, was a smash 4-1, a route burial blowout. You got to ask yourself, do you retire a win or do you get back in the mix? That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Panthers look free. Whoa! Is this a misprint? Look at this Panthers price. Oh, my goodness. Wow. I mean, is there an odds boost on this number? Minus 120? I am interested. I'm interested. We're going to take a look. I'm not sure what we're going to do. We're going to take a look. And I think that's totally fair. In the association tonight, bounce back merchant Chris, Peyton Pritchard for 3 made threes. Peyton Pritchard with consecutive games of single-digit scoring did not have it going in the tough mountain air of Denver, nor in Phoenix. He was 3 of 19 from the floor, 1 of 8 from 3 in those 2 games for a grand total of 11 points. Prior to that, 30, 26, 26, 6, 24, 27, 26. I love the look. Now, I kind of like playing the points a little bit. I don't think it's a ladder option. Peyton Pritchard's a nice look. Give me the Knicks minus the 8.5. This is a revenge spot for me. Nobody else. Just a revenge spot for me. I was going to lay this exact number with the Cavs. They then punted the game. I was stuck with a Cavs money line ticket I never wanted and a parlay piece. I'm still angry about it. The Knicks tonight, as far as I can tell, healthy, playing, need a statement win. I love fading Milwaukee off of a pair of 2 straight victories. The Knicks should roll here tonight. The Knicks should score 120, 125. The Bucks should struggle to crack 105, and the Knicks should roll in this game. 15, 20-point victory. We'll see if they answer the bell. We continue to break this slate down. It's a quick break right here on SportsGrid.
think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too, and what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago? How much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Well, I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions here on a Friday night. We've got some important issues to address, like the quality of food in West Virginia. But maybe that's not topic number one, maybe like third or fourth on the list. Moneyline Mac here to help us out on a Friday night. It's Ryan McIntyre, man. We appreciate you making some time.
Kevin, I appreciate you having me on a Friday. And yes, you can never go wrong with some pepperoni rolls from Morgantown, West Virginia.
You know what? I'm interested now. You know what? You've kind of hit the right note with me. Talk to me a little bit, though, here, Mac, about Michigan, Illinois. This is a huge game. It has, I think, tournament implications when we talk about could Illinois get themselves up to a one-line bid, when the tournament bracket ultimately becomes official. What do you like here tonight?
So both teams, Illinois has really owned the series under Brad Underwood. They've won 9 in a row in this series. But obviously, this is the best Michigan team. They haven't beat Michigan since 2019 with John Beilein. It's kind of a contrast in styles. Illinois, we call them Team Europe over there on our show just because they went the European route versus everybody else that goes the American route with all the portal guys. I think that it's more of a physical game here tonight. I think they're going to let them play, which I think will favor Michigan. I think their size, physicality really will bother Illinois' skill guys on the perimeter. I'm gonna just play Michigan on the money line. We see a lot of these games this time of year with the 1.5, 2.5 point lines. You kind of just want to bite the juice a little bit and just take it on the money line. So what? Michigan minus 120. I'll take them here to beat Illinois and get a big win and clinch the Big Ten regular season.
Do you, when you take a look at this Big Ten, because we just are coming off of this Michigan State Purdue result yesterday, how much respect do you have overall for this conference? Do you feel like there are a handful of teams that can really make a incredible deep run in this tournament, or is it really Michigan and everybody else?
I think they got a couple. It may be more so Final Four candidates. Ironically, the Big Ten hasn't won the Natty in over 25 years when Sparty cut it down with Mateen Cleaves and company. So it's been a while for the Big Ten. Purdue got to the Natty a couple years ago with Zach Edey. Michigan definitely can win it all. They've been dominant all year, sitting there 26-2. I think Illinois maybe could win it all if they got hot from the perimeter. They make shots, and they're such a unique style of play with their size and skill. Sparty, I don't know if they can cut down the nets. I think they can get back to a Final Four, and you can never count out Izzo. Purdue, I think they could get to a Final Four with the right draw, but they're just so reliant on Braden Smith at the point guard. The rest of their team has just not played well for whatever reason. They're preseason number 1.
Yeah, I actually, it might sound hard. I find them to be quite embarrassing. I think the fact that they've lost all 4 home games against elite teams is, we see what home, I mean, Mac, you bet these games every night. Home court advantage in today's college game feels like it's worth 5 points in some of these games. And the fact that they can't win, and it's not like they've been dogs in all of them, right? They were 5.5 or better against Illinois, Iowa State, and obviously Michigan State last night. So I just feel like those have been some unencouraging results. We won't just keep it at the top level, though, because you bet this sport, you bet it every night. What are some of the other looks for you here on this Friday card outside of the ranked action?
Yeah, so I mean, so the Sun Belt is crazy. There's 4 teams sitting up there at 11-6 right now, and of course, this is the league that gets the quadruple bye, which makes no sense because there's no dominant team. So you're just rewarding chaos, which is going to be a fun tournament. A lot of pressure spots. I mean, you look at App State; they're going for the regular season title. South Alabama's going. Marshall's going for it. So I think there's some tricky spots. I am on Georgia Southern in the points. I'm on Southern Miss in the points. And the other one, I like Texas State in that weird travel spot in San Marcos over App.
All right, so I do want to get some thoughts on the weekend while we have you here, because there's a lot of important games tomorrow, right? And just because games are big doesn't mean there's going to be value, but there's a couple that I feel people are absolutely going to be involved with, and I would imagine one of those is Arizona and Kansas. This Wildcats team was, knocked off their perch by this Kansas group, right? The win without Darren Peterson, and then it's followed up by Arizona losing at home, and we're like, whoa, what's going on here? They've obviously found their level, specifically with that win at Houston. We run it back now. We expect Peterson to play. It's not double digits exactly, but it's right around that. Is this one of the games that's sticking out to you?
Yeah, I thought this line was a little bit inflated. I love Arizona as much as anybody. I think they're the best team in the country. But I think Kansas is playing really well when they just get a little bit of continuity, whether Peterson's going to play or not. I hope. I think that Melvin Council at the point guard position has been really, really good. But Dunga protecting the rim. I like Kansas getting the 9.5. I think that they actually have a shot to beat them again. I think it's an interesting matchup because Kansas can match their size and physicality in the paint. So I like Kansas in the points here.
Yeah, I've not played it yet. I don't disagree, though. I think that this is a Kansas team who just, they're not going to be an easy out, right? And I know the Peterson stuff can be very divisive, but they are better with him. You think back to that big Monday, and that was a 2.5-point line working towards 1.5, and it closed around 5.5 once the Peterson news ended up becoming official. So the fact that he's involved in this game, and that's where this number sits, I tend to agree with you. I think there's a little bit of surprise around that. Another one of those interesting games, it's a little bit earlier, Mac. It's Duke, Virginia. And I'm not saying the game doesn't matter for Duke, but this feels like one of the first times we're like, okay, thank goodness we get Virginia in a spotlight situation, because all of the numbers for them are great, but because the ACC can be hit or miss, it just doesn't feel like we've had a lot of relevant Virginia basketball games. They played Louisville so early. They lost the North Carolina game. Even if you're not betting this one, I'm curious what you make of this Cavaliers group.
It's another dog I'm going to play. I do like Virginia, but I like the Virginia team. I know this time of year we start throwing out the Ken Pom stats.
Sure.
If national champion, the last 25 national champions have all been within the 25 of both offense and defensive efficiency. Virginia's right there in those categories. Ryan Odom has done as good a job as anybody in America. Only year one coming over from VCU and Utah State and UMBC before that. So they also went the European route as well, but they also hit gold with some of these older transfers in the portal. So Virginia's got a bunch of size. They got a bunch of skilled guys as well. I think that they can hang in this thing tomorrow. I'm not calling for them to win in Cameron. That's as tough a place to play as anybody. Yeah. But I do like Virginia getting double digits here.
Yeah, I'm so interested to see because, I follow the sport, but Virginia's a team I kind of have to throw my hands up with at times. Like, I have no idea how good they are. Because we can't even just put the same old kind of descriptions back when they were Bennett boys, right? they're not the slowest team we've ever seen. Like, they are a different team. Mac, I want to ask you before we let you get out of here, and we really appreciate you making some time on a Friday night. Yeah. Where are you at in the futures market right now? I know everybody times these bets differently, but have you bet any team when we're talking national championship here? And if you maybe bet a few, is there one ticket that you love more than, say, the rest?
I think, and they're still at 25-1. I'm getting arguably the best coach in the sport in Bill Self. I'm getting the number one pick in the draft. And it seems like they turned a corner on Monday night with him. It was the best we've seen them against Houston. And I already talked about that supporting cast. They proved that they can win without him, beating Arizona, the number one team in the country. I think Kansas at 25-1 is a great value, especially if they get the right draw. And once they get out of the Big 12, I think we're going to see with these Big 12 teams, Arizona, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, go down the list. They're going to be chomping at the bit for some fresh blood.
That's a really good point too, right? The world where these Big 12 teams just kind of barreled through that opening weekend. All right, I have to recalibrate a couple of. That makes a lot of sense to me. That really landed. All right, Moneyline Mac, my man, let people know where they can catch your work. We really appreciate it.
Kevin, appreciate you having me as well. At Moneyline_Mac, and then we're at the College Experience every night. Happy Madness.
Yeah, that is fantastic, man. I gotta add a Big 12 team or two. I gotta figure some things out here, man. That is fantastic. We will be right back. More Game Time Decisions. We're live with you on a Friday night.
Tanking is hurting the NBA right now too, and what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago. How much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, no. Wow, folks. Accidental game of the year broke out in Niagara, Quinnipiac. Sources close to the situation are saying they tried to do a whiteout and forgot the seats were gray because it's not great. I'll tell you this. Niagara isn't doing any worse than Quinnipiac. Let's get live numbers. Wow, this is interesting. You know, when you get a total this low, you think, we can't get that far off pace. That's one of the good things. 27.5 is the live Niagara number. You're right around it. You're right around it. Oh, spoilies. They're in the mix, people. They're in the mix. Niagara outright? Add it to my card? No. We're watching. We're watching. Here is another spot that we are watching. It's Miami of Ohio against Western Michigan. Now, I will not pretend that I know this Miami of Ohio roster up and down, but what I did see a tweet come across from the Maction Maniacs account is the leading assister on the Redhawks is going to have surgery on a broken wrist, and it would be fair then to wonder, would that mess up his entire season? And if yes, how much does that mess up Miami of Ohio season? This is a pretty balanced scoring attack. The player is Luke Skaljak. He is one of their most prolific players from what I can read here. Let me just dive into quickly some of the advanced numbers to get an idea where he kind of checks in. Is this the best player on this basketball team? He's clearly going to be impactful. Let's take a look here at some of the advanced numbers. He's all right. Right? I mean, he's all right. He's relevant. You know what I mean? But like, it stood out to me because we have the game on, and this Miami of Ohio offense doesn't look crisp early. They're below expectations. They can't make any threes. They're 2 of 8. They are up 3, 26-23. Total in that game, pregame, is 161.5 at close. We're 145.5 live right now, so it is a dropper. We will keep tabs on it. Let's shift over to the NBA. Talk a little Pistons Cavs here. Now that we're up to 8.5, which is what I wanted to see, I have some interest in Cleveland. Let me see if we have our starting lineup for the Cavs tonight here. We're kind of doing this in-game live style. Perfect. So Dennis Schroeder, Sam Merrill, and then it's going to be Tyson Mobley and Allen in the front court. And if we compare this to who they sent out for the Milwaukee game, Merrill is in for Dean Wade. That is fine. But, oh no, I'm sorry. No, Merrill started in that game. So it's really just they are adding Evan Mobley in for a Dean Wade appearance. Obviously, the level of competition is far, is much different. But Evan Mobley is, supposed to be one of the, most impactful young big men in this league. It's been an up-and-down season probably for Mobley when you pin it against expectations. He's played 3 games since returning, 1 against Brooklyn. They dominated that team. Mobley was a plus 20 in 19 minutes. He played against OKC in 25 minutes. He was a -3, which was the second best of the starting unit outside of Donovan Mitchell. And then against the Knicks, he played 24 minutes, and Mobley was a +5. I think it's relevant because I'm trying to get a sense of just how the Cavs have been doing in these Mobley minutes. The reality is Evan Mobley is still playing over 10 minutes less than his expected workload, if you will. Maybe it goes up a bit tonight against Detroit. But this is a number that isn't, it's not violently far off of where a backup OKC team was priced, right? OKC caught 10.5 from Detroit with Cason Wallace, Jalen Williams with a Y, Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, and Isaiah Joe in their starting lineup. Is this Cavs lineup better than that tonight? I think it is. The Cavs look interesting to me here at 8.5. I would like to think they could score. You could sell me under 226.5 for a total. Is there just not enough at the guard position for the Cleveland to score it tonight? And then Detroit lean on the defensive side of the ball. You could sell me that. You could sell me that. What's a Pistons team total look like here on this Friday night? We've got a 117.5 is tall. Do we Pistons team total under it? I mean, I know the offense overall has obviously had themselves a really good season, but I think maybe that's kind of the thread, the needle spot here. As I'm interested in Cleveland, I'm interested in the under, but I don't know how enamored I am with what the Cavs are bringing to the offensive table tonight. If the Pistons roll, though, like, does the flat under give us the most outs? Possible. Total was 220.5 when they played that backup OKC squad. I don't want to read too much into that, though, because everyone's tempo is different. And it's hard to know what a Cleveland tempo will be tonight with all these backup guys here. But I think there is some interest for me right now, and we can dive a little bit more into this as we get to our commercial break, but there is some interest for me, I think at least, in the Cleveland side and in the under. So there may be a way to play that here tonight. So that's something for us to keep our eyes on. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to dive a little bit more into this Oklahoma City-Denver game tonight. It's really impactful. Just when you talk about Shea coming back, reestablishing himself, the MVP race that Shea is trying to stay the clear-cut front runner in, and Jokic is still trying to make some inroads. So we'll set that up. It's going to be a quick break, but it's going to be right here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Well, I actually, and I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here, I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions here on a Friday night. Let's dive into the game between Oklahoma City and Denver. I am, again, torn on this game. Let's, though, just establish kind of the top of this game, which is the two MVPs in Shea and Jokic, okay? Jokic right now is giving you 29, 12.5, 10.5. He leads the league in rebounds. He leads the league in assists. Shea He's given you 32, 5, and 6. He's increased his efficiency this year, and OKC is supposed to be, the best team in basketball, right? And that status is the best team, and him being the best player on the best team, it really sets that to kind of be the driving force, if you will, for, I think at least somewhat, the Shea candidacy. What has thrown things off, though, is missed time for Jokic, and then it's been followed up by missed time for SGA. Jokic can only miss one more game. We've talked about that a handful of times. That is it. And to some degree, I wonder if 4-1 on Jokic is an awful bet. Because I struggle getting a read on... I really struggle to get a read on... Oh, man, things are going insane in the Miami of Ohio, Western Michigan game. Like, the head coach of Miami of Ohio is going to get fined like a ton. I don't know. He's like throwing things. It's a weird situation. You'll see it on Twitter if you want. They're losing. Maybe they'll lose tonight. Coach is rattled. I don't know. Who cares? Nikola Jokic at plus 400. How much of that is the books? How much of that is the books saying we don't know if he's going to play the minimum? If he does, we're beat on this number, but we think it's unlikely he meets the minimum, right? And how much of the Jokic number is how much of this Jokic number is them thinking, no, Shea's the MVP. Shea is clearly the guy. And this is his award, and he's going to win it. That's what I'm struggling with so much, because as I've said to you guys throughout the week here, I think Jokic plays the minimum. He's played back-to-back since coming back, and in fact, it was the second and third game since his return. He played a back-to-back with the second leg being 45 minutes in double overtime on the road. I think Jokic is going to play the requirement. Shea is very likely to play the required games as well. He's missed 11. He can only miss 6 more. But I don't think Shea, again, to make this very simple, okay? If Jokic and Shea each play their remaining games, then you're going to end up with a 5-6 game gap. That's not a lot. So we can't point to Jokic only playing 66 as an advantage for Shea. If Jokic meets the minimum, Shea meets the minimum, the games played won't be the determining factor. Is it going to be record? I don't know. Again, OKC's record is not that impressive when you think about the fact that in the beginning of the year, they were 24-1, and we thought they might break the single-season wins record. It's not. Denver's record won't be held against them because Jokic missed time, and then Gordon missed time, and then Murray missed time, and then Watson missed time, and then Cam Johnson missed time, and then Christian Brown missed time, and then Jonas Valanciunas. Like, nobody's going to care. So if it's a numbers off, if we're going to have the numbers off, it's going to go to Jokic. The one other element, though, of where I'm hesitating again, and I love to break these things down. I really, really do, right? But sometimes the smart thing is to just sit on the sidelines. If Nikola Jokic wins another league MVP, the list of players to win 4 more league MVPs: LeBron, Wilt, Bill Russell, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah? Yeah? Now, the people who love Jokic will think not only, yeah, they'll be like, you know what, we should get him 7. But this is one of the things that you will see shifted, I believe, off of tonight's result. We're going to get George Kurtz to the mix, break down the NHL slate after a break here on Friday.
you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too, and what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago? How much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Well, I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions here on a show that right now is wondering how much of our production staff is locked in on an excellent upcoming segment breaking down the NHL slate, and how much of it is on the phone with MAC officials trying to pause the Quinnipiac-Niagara game and maybe just add a couple of more points to the Niagara score. It's our guy George Kurtz with us here. All right, they anytime I say the word Niagara, they take this graphic, man. George Kurtz, it's great to have you, pal. We've got some NHL to break down. I'll tell you what, it's a sport that I got over-invested in last night. Instead of one play, I had two plays, and I had to, tuck tail and run and be happy with a 1-1 night. It's a 4 or 5 game slate here. Pretty interesting stuff. But tell me, George, how has the return to the NHL season been for you? Has anything stood out in the first 2 nights since the Olympic hockey break?
Well, as I told you on Wednesday, we were going to have to be careful, right? Because we didn't know what we didn't know yet. And, generally when teams come back off a break, whether it's the bye week or in this case, the Olympic break, goals are scored. Defense is a little slow here. Goaltending maybe a little bit behind. That didn't happen in the early games Wednesday. It picked up as the night went on. Also, we had 10, 11, 12 goal games here. And last night was almost something similar. It's taking a little bit here for things to pick up. Tonight's a tough night because our first game of the night, that Vegas game, Vegas didn't play anybody against the Kings the other night, which, by the way, took a bath on that game. A lot of us did. Vegas was resting everybody. I mean, Eichel, Hannafin, they resting everybody who was in the Olympics. And Kings, pretty up Panarin, first game. They'll do well. They did not. And the Kings got thrashed last night. Vegas gets everybody back tonight. All right, Eichel's coming back. Hannafin's coming back. Theodore's coming back. I mean, are they rusty? They haven't played hockey now in almost a week, right, since Sunday. So I kind of worry about that game. I think Vegas is the better team. Washington has been up and down all season long. But I'm leaning towards the Washington Capitals tonight, Kevin. Once again, I don't love any of these games. As far as an NHL fan, this is a good slate tonight. We have 4 good games here. That leaves it a little tougher for our bettors here to find the opportunity for us to go in on. I'm going to take the Capitals at home against Vegas. I think Vegas will be a little rusty here.
Okay, fair enough. What about Florida Buffalo? With an maybe a bit of an untrained eye, but nevertheless, Florida looks interesting to me when I see this game here. At home, they came out swinging against Toronto. in a very impressive fashion. 3 goals in that opening period, 2 of them very, very quickly in the game. If you can't tell, George, that was one of the games I bet yesterday, so I kind of know how it played out pretty. I lost. I took a Maple Leafs first period team total just to watch Florida hang 3, and Toronto had barely get 3 shots on net. What do you see here with the Panthers and the Sabres matched up?
This is a tough game. The game was much more. I can't believe I'm saying this on February 27th. The game is much more important for the Florida Panthers. All right, they've struggled most of the season here. Injuries have hurt the team. Matthew Tkachuk was out a couple of months. He's been back now. They still don't have Alexander Barkov. Maybe he returns around playoff time. Maybe he doesn't here. Seth Jones is out of the lineup, but he could return soon. The biggest thing for me is this. Buffalo's been hot. All right. They beat New Jersey the other night. We had that game, right? One of the few. But they weren't all that impressive. They won 2-1. But they didn't play last night. Florida did. Florida's a little bit of an older team here. I like Buffalo tonight. I'm going to take the dog here with the Buffalo Sabres. Go with the hotter team here. Go with the team that didn't play the night before. They'll have theoretically fresher legs here. Also believe Florida's going to go with their backup goaltenders. Bobrovsky played last night. Everything to me says take Buffalo. Florida probably wins the game now, but I'm going to take the Buffalo Sabres tonight.
All right, so a little love for Buffalo from George. As we continue to work through this NHL slate, we'll talk some NFL with George as well. I'm very curious what he makes of the latest around Pickens, which is obviously going to be a big deal. Utah and Minnesota, the Mammoth, a minus 130, minus 135 home favorite in this game against the Wild. Each of these two teams have played Colorado since coming out of the break. They now get matched up against one another, George.
Yeah, Utah sort of had the unfortunate, even though I was on the Mammoth on Wednesday night, but they played him fresh, and Colorado took care of business, and then Minnesota wiped out Colorado last night. I think 5-1, 5-2 was the final score. Same theory here as the Buffalo-Florida game. All right, when Minnesota played last night, Utah did not. Utah's the younger team, fresher legs. I'm going to go with Utah here. The only difference is I'm paying for the price here, right? Buffalo, one of the reasons I'm going with them is because they are the underdog. A little bit better price there for me. Not so much at Utah tonight, minus 134. That being said, I'm the first person to tell you, I wasn't very happy that they didn't play all that well against Colorado the other night. Took them against the dog, against the Avalanche. Didn't come through tonight. If they lose again tonight, I'll never bet them again.
Man, you know what? I guess late February, early March, it's not a bad time to throw teams out and say you no longer can make the card. George, is it Hellebuck tonight for Winnipeg? It's got to be, right? Heroes welcome in Anaheim?
Yes, it is Hellebuck tonight. They've already announced that. It made sense to start Comrie the other night. I mean, you and I discussed this. They were playing Vancouver. All right, you and I should be able to play net, and we should be able to beat Vancouver.
Yeah.
A team that's given up. They're done for the year here. And it was dicey. They won the game in overtime with a Perfetti goal there. But, hey, we cashed. We'll take it there. Tonight's a much tougher matchup here. I can tell you the thing I like best about tonight's game, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to go over the over 6.5 here. Both these teams can score goals. The Ducks, they're not quite the San Jose Sharks, as far as I always consider the Sharks to be like the Colorado Rockies, where they're going to, you're playing in Coors Field, you're going to score some goals here. Ducks aren't quite in that class, but they're close to it. All right, they give up goals as well here. Defense can be an issue here. So I think goals are going to happen tonight. I'll take the over 6.5. I kind of like the Jets to win the game, but it's going to be somewhat emotional, but I think Hellebuck will be fine. Once again, hasn't played in 5 days, so maybe you want to take Anaheim the first period, and then the Jets take off after that. But I'm going to say Hellebuck is victorious in his way back. The plus money also helps here. The Ducks, I think, listen, they're a nice team. I don't know if they should be minus 137 over the Jets. It gets a little bit too high a price for me to pay.
All right, so George, one of the conversations, a lot of times when you and I do the hockey, we just keep it, what's on the slate tonight? What should we bet? I am curious. Do you have any Stanley Cup futures yet? If so, who? If not, who are you tracking right now in that market?
Yeah, I think once again, do I have futures? Of course. Whether it's preseason, before the season started, we always do that, right? See if we can hit it. They're going there. Dallas Stars, who I would say right now they're the third best team in the West, but I think when healthy, they could still be a very good team here. The challenge Colorado. My issue with Colorado is they're definitely the best team during the regular season. I just don't know if that defense/goaltending will hold up during the playoffs. All right, so it's a different animal here. A lot of this also depends, by the way. The trade deadline is next Friday, a week from tonight. We'll see who makes the big addition here. But I have Dallas in the coming out of the West here, but it's going to be tough. It's a grueling West. They could easily lose to Minnesota in the first round thanks to the NHL's insane playoff system where you stay within the division. Just stupid. Hate it, but we'll see what happens there. East is much, much tougher here. All right, what's going on here? I don't have anybody from the Metro. All right, it's hard to bank on Carolina. All right, they're a regular season team that folds in about the second, third round of the playoffs. They don't get very far. And if you wanted to go with the Atlantic Division, I mean, Florida. Okay, we didn't like Florida because of all the injuries. Even before the season started, we knew Barkov was out. We knew Matt Kachuk was out. But then who was that other team? All right, I don't want to say guess right, but I think I had it right in Tampa Bay Lightning, who might be my favorite to win it all right now. Tampa Bay Lightning are playing well. They have the goaltender. Hedman's back, so they have the top defenseman. We know they can score goals. All right, and there's a lot of noise, Kevin, that maybe Stamkos, could end up back. Yeah, Nashville could be trading out. Stamkos could end up back in Tampa Bay, and wouldn't that be a storyline?
It's going to be interesting. The one thing that I know about the NHL's postseason structure is somehow the Oilers and Kings every single year play in the first round. I don't understand it even a little bit. But am I wrong? Right, George? Is that not usually how the first round begins every year?
I think the Kings feel the same way as you, by the way. Can we avoid Edmonton in the first round, please?
Right.
Avoid Connor McDavid. Avoid Leon Draisaitl. Kings, by the way, can be a very interesting team by the deadline because, remember, they traded for Panarin, but they didn't give up much for him. So if they want to go out and make another big addition, Kevin, they have the ammunition to do it. They only give up a second rounder for Panarin. They still have their first-round pick to make another big addition, which they need, thanks to Kevin Fiala being out for the year.
All right, we're going to sneak some NFL in here on a Friday night. Kevin Walsh hanging out with George Kurtz. We'll be right back on Game Time Decisions.
Do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
I actually, and I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Game Time Decisions. We have a team total under for Detroit, 118.5 as they match up with the Cavs. We're going to watch that game here. The boys in the back, very happy as they get the Niagara first half team total over. Sweat-free. Last possession, the 29 goes to 31. N1, count your pennies. They get there. They're happy about it. If you ignore the worst bet in the history of this show, which was their double-up hockey producer play of the day, they're arguably hot. Oh, George, I didn't tell you about this. We're joined by George Kurtz on this Friday night. They obviously George knows they like to give out their picks. yesterday on their own accord decided that they get to give out multiple picks. They gave out first period under in Carolina and Tampa Bay, which had 2 goals before any other game even had a goal. I think each team scored 2 in the first period. It's the worst bet. It's the worst bet, George, I think, in the history of this show.
Well, if you're gonna lose big. If you're gonna lose
right,
quickly. That's the
fair
way I
enough.
like to do it. Don't make me sweat. I lost big. I can move on here. But
like
I think that game and the other game you were talking about had 3 goals quickly, right? So it is what it is here. Not all that surprised. Once again, Tampa was on the second half of back-to-back nights. I tend to avoid those teams.
Fair enough. Now, George, Mr. George Pickens here, he's franchise tagged. We knew that was going to happen, but now that it's happened, where are you at on a player who had a massive season for the Dallas Cowboys and is that means going to be in an inevitable contract dispute with Jerry Jones?
Yes, it's going to be a mess. And by the way,
Yeah.
I think Jerry Jones wants it to be a mess. He
Yeah.
wants us to be talking about it. He wants everyone to be talking about it. It's the same agent from that had Micah Parsons, right? And Jerry, I don't even know who that guy is. Really, you don't know who he is? One of the top agents in the NFL. Okay, yeah, it's going to be a mess. I don't expect him to work out a contract. I don't know if Dallas wants to work out a contract, by the way. Do they really want to have 2 top receivers paid, over 34, 35 million a year? Don't know if they want to do that. So I think they actually want to tag him and move on. They also, one thing very curious, Kevin, they put the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means other teams can talk to him. If they decide to sign him, Dallas can either match it or they get 2 first-round picks. I think Jerry Jones wouldn't mind getting the 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
I think he's winning it. Will Buffalo step up and make that kind of offer here? We got to rebuild the team, rebuild the defense. Remember, Cowboys don't have a 2nd and 3rd round pick. All right, 2nds to the Jets, 3rds to Pittsburgh, 4 Pickens. So I don't think Jerry Jones would mind collecting more picks here. I think they would love to have Pickens. I don't think you'll see Pickens until July 15th. I don't think he's going to any of the offseason mini camps and all that stuff.
Right.
And I'm curious, Kevin, is he going to have a mysterious injury during training camp where he can't, even though there's nothing that can be done by that. Remember, he's not a free agent or an upcoming free agent. Franchise tag means if you don't get the long-term deal by July 15th, there's nothing that can be done. All right, it's done. That's it. So holding out or doing the fake injury does nothing for George Pickens. But I think Jerry Jones loves this, absolutely loves this, that the Cowboys will be in the news now. Jones and Pickens, will they sign it? What's going to happen for the next 4, 5, 6 months?
I think what's so unfortunate is it is not unfortunate that George is right. I love to see George correct. I think but George is right, and that's unfortunate because this shouldn't be how anything operates, right? Like, we are sat here talking about this Pickens situation because he was one of the best receivers in football this year. The Dallas Cowboys have perennially been in the postseason hunt. And if Pickens is on that team, it's important. And if Pickens is going to be on a different team, it's important. But it's unfortunate that it does feel a little bit, George, like you and I are kind of, and maybe on a smaller scale, but playing the role that Jerry Jones wants us to play, right? Just, hey, who's the lead scorer in the NFL during the NFL Combine? Kind of Dallas, right? With this Pickens situation. The question I have for you is, with the way this team is balanced, do you think that paying Pickens is the right move for this team if they do seemingly find a way to get a deal done?
The defense is not going to be fixed overnight. Mm-hmm. All right. I don't know if it's going to be as pathetic as it was last year, but it's not going to be fixed overnight, which means the Cowboys are going to have to score. Kevin, I might feel differently if the Cowboys had, this guy on the team, he'll be a 2nd wide receiver for the team. He's good guy. They just hasn't played enough. They don't have that. All right. If Pickens isn't there, and we all know CeeDee Lamb's going to get double covered, get bracketed, safety over the top, all of that, and it's going to be much more difficult. So I think they have to get Pickens done here. It's like I said, it's a tough contract to do here because he did play so well. You can make an argument he was a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL last year. If he was on the open market, he might reset it. That's just the way it works. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be the best free agent that year, and he might reset it. So, yeah, he's not going to be happy he's getting 27 point whatever. I think it's $3 million in the franchise. He's going to want more. He's going to want that $100 million or whatever, $110 million signing bonus. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, Jerry Jones loves this. This. Because we're talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. What did Jerry Jones tell us, 4, 5, 6 months ago? that for the Cowboys, he likes to be in the headlines. You know, he likes to stir things up. That's his words, not mine. Stir things up. This does that. All right, you and I are Yankee fans. Remember back in the 70s and 80s, George Steinman would do anything to get on the back pages. Fire a hitting coach, fire the pitching coach. You know, so he wanted to get on the back pages more than anything. Jerry Jones is the same way, just goes about it a different way.
Yeah, you know, the thing that I struggle with is this sports. All sports are supposed to be copycat leagues, right? You see something that works and you think, okay, us too. And somehow, you know what the Cowboys seem to be looking at and be like, you know what? That's going to be us. The Cincinnati Bengals. And it's not as, I think pathetic is probably the right word with Cincinnati at times, George, where they don't want to pay people because they're cheap and they somehow get bullied into paying their good players because everyone's like, what are you doing? But the defense is bad. We know it's bad. What if we pay an outrageous amount of money to our quarterback and 2 wide receivers? And I'm pretty sure, George, if this goes the way I think maybe you and I are thinking, Dallas is going to end up with a more expensive quarterback wide receiver combination than Cincinnati.
Yes. Almost undoubtedly. And by the way, real quick, why does every player seem to know they can get more money from Jerry than everybody else? They all want, league-setting deals.
Yeah. Awesome as always. George Kurtz here. We'll be right back on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Well, I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
In the mix, as always, game time decisions. We are hearing there's some odds boosts in the market. We have to get involved here, people. Didn't know about this. We gotta get in the mix here. We gotta find a way. So let's get a look here. All right. So that means we just got to move a percentage of that to there, and then we get involved here. That's great. There's a odds boost over on Bet Rivers if you are a user of that sports book. If you are not, call Chris Kofsky. You know what? I was speaking to someone today. Impossible to tell if I'm talking about Chris or not. And he let me know that there is a limit on how many like sign up boosts that you can get from like people you ask to sign up. Knowing that is crazy. Knowing that ever finding that out is crazy. And I stand on that. I think there are certainly people who would back me up on that truth. But look, that's Chris, man. You know, it's a guy who gets in the mix. That's our guy. So we just got to root him in. That's all we can really do as a team. Now, let's take a look here at the updated prices, okay, after the combine yesterday, because I am interested in what we're going to get out of the New York Jets. And there's a lot of different rumors going on. And I would say right now, okay, when you look at where the Jets are positioned, it feels like the Jets trading out is very on the board. I had initially thought that wasn't going to be the case, and I'm not saying it's a massive favorite, but there's a lot of different things happening that could set the Jets up here to move. Now, because what you've had so far are there are probably 4 at this point in the combine, very relevant players, okay? And I think that this positions us to wonder how the Jets want to play it. Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, and David Bailey all had phenomenal combines. And maybe all of those teams that could be interested in trading up will be like, no, we'll let the first one of the guys go. We'll let the first 2 of them go, and we'll just try and get the third, right? Like, we are fine getting the last of the trio, right? I think the Jets would have to hope that somebody wants to come up and get the best of the group. Right now, Reese at plus 105. I am a little surprised that Sonny Styles is at 40-1 after yesterday. To me, and I wonder, you know, the group in the back follows this as well, so you could kind of tell me in my ear. I think both Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs are more likely to be picked second overall than Ruben Bain Jr. I do not think that Ruben Bain, after all of this conversation about his arms, is going to end up the second overall pick when Sonny Styles shattered the combine. David Bailey clearly ran quicker than anybody thought he was going to. And Reese is the present favorite and also had himself a great combine. So I think when we look for value right early, it feels like Styles or Downs could beat those numbers. I don't know if you'd cash those tickets. I think the other end of it is like, oh, there's a plus price Reese, there's a plus price Bailey. There's just not a lot of, let's be clear, money to be made on betting a plus 105 and a plus 120 and hoping that one of those come in. Certainly not now. The other really big name, though, to keep eyes on has become Jeremiah Love. And I was like, oh, we're always watching Jeremiah Love. This is different. All of a sudden now we've seen the Giants at 5 and the Titans at 4 linked to Jeremiah Love. And if Reese or Bailey or Styles aren't the guy, there always is a guy that everybody wants to be connected to see if you'll get phone calls for. That might end up being Jeremiah Love. And teams now trading up to draft a running back would be a fascinating scene. We're going to talk some golf on the other side. It's Game Time Decisions on a Friday night.
you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too, and what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago? How much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Well, I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, here with you guys on Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh, we're joined by our man Brady Cannon. Little PGA Tour going on, Brady. And I got to tell you, I love being able to talk golf with you, but this tournament, I need you. Because when I saw the top of the leaderboard after round one, I was like, oh boy, they got me beat. This is not the SIGs. These are not the names that I'm familiar with up here at the top. What's been some of the early reaction for you coming out of this tournament?
Well, similar to what you were experiencing there, we haven't seen Austin Smotherman really didn't even play much on tour last year and hasn't, had a PGA Tour win to his career yet. Pretty decent player. He's had some flashes here and there. Nico Echeverria does have a couple of wins under his belt on the PGA Tour, but both of these guys are young to the scene. And, I was talking yesterday with Gabe and Scott. I did not expect much out of either of these guys going forward. And that came true for Echeverria. He came back to the pack today for sure. Both he and Smotherman have missed the cut in every single one of their starts this season, except for one tournament. It's 3 out of 4 missed cuts for Smotherman and 4 out of 5 for Echeverria. They rank miserably as far as strokes gained putting and strokes gained approach, and yet Smotherman specifically is killing it. He's 7th in this field for strokes gained approach and number 1 in putting. Now, I think it's going to come around and catch him as well. I mean, you can't – this is typically a pretty difficult golf course. Now, it's gotten easier over the last couple of years where they've tweaked some things. But, when the wind blows, we saw it this afternoon, it gets pretty difficult. And I think this is going to catch up with Austin Smotherman. I just don't think the way he's played so far this year and the way he's going right now, I don't feel like it's sustainable. I'd be looking deeper down the board for some of the names that we do recognize, Kevin, to the cream rising to the top, if you will, over the next 36 holes.
Yeah, I think what's so interesting, and I love the way you set it up, Brady, right, is we often talk a lot about how many shots back can someone be to think they have a chance. I don't mean to be dismissive of Austin Smotherman, but if we're going to use his 11 under, then, guys at 4 under might be a stretch. But if we almost eliminate Smotherman and say, hey, listen, this isn't going to hold, okay, now anyone at 4 under is only 4 shots back of Taylor Moore, right? 3 shots back of A.J. Award. So you start to say, okay, we can talk about the 3-under guys then, right? What would almost be, Brady, the cutoff for you? Obviously, it's going to be golfer dependent, but how far back we can go down this board?
Well, I like the way you're thinking there. And it's funny, AJ Uart or whatever, I don't think I've ever even heard of that guy. And he went nuts today, shot a 64. Taylor Moore, I was actually on him for his only PGA Tour win 3 years ago at the Valspar. He's been okay this year. This is only his third start. I feel like he's playing pretty well. He's 29th on approach, 21st on putting. Solid. I just don't know if he's going to be able to hang on either. Again, I feel like it's going to be some of these bigger names that start showing up over the weekend. And I like what you're talking about as far as, okay, where's the bar? I think, yesterday it was Echeverria and Smotherman that went nuts, and there was a bunch of other guys at 4 under par. If you start out with 4 under par for one day, you double that and make it 8 under par for 2 days. I think the real lead is around 8 under par. I'm not going to, I'm with you. I'll eliminate Smotherman. I think that brings guys back into the pack that are even just 1 under right now. It is weather dependent. Okay. The wind is supposed to blow, not brutal, but it is going to be difficult enough. I think you're going to get some gusts in the 20 to 25 mile an hour range. And that is very difficult, especially when you have a golf course like this where 15 of the 18 holes have water in play. And you catch a gust and bang, your ball's in the water. And that's a double bogey, or a bogey at worst. So things can turn quickly when this wind kicks up in the afternoon. And the guys who are teeing off early on Saturday are probably going to have a little bit better run at it than the guys that are teeing off late at the top of the leaderboard on Saturday and Sunday. Mackenzie Hughes, was a guy that I played prior to this tournament starting. He was awful on day one, really came back great today. He's at 2 under par. He's a guy. Now, is he going to win it? I don't know, but he's got a very good track record here. I think he's a really good bet to finish top 20, Kevin. And it's better than 2 to 1.
I mean, no, that's a really nice price. And I was just kind of pulling up, Brady, some of the, I always mention to you the data golf numbers that are very interesting. And you can do it by values or by rank, so it's kind of specific, right? So, but you can tell that the Smotherman lead right now on this field in strokes gained putting is he's either the best putter in the world, right? Right? Or this is really going to come back to the pack, and we're going to have ourselves a more open golf tournament. Is there anyone else here that you're looking at? I mean, just from a leaderboard perspective, right? The two names that stand out to me would be Aaron Rye and Shane Lowry.
You got it. That's half of my card right there that I was looking at this point in the game. You also mentioned the putting of Smotherman. Even if you are the very best putter in the world, okay, let's say that's Denny McCarthy at this point, or is it Maverick McNeely, or even a guy locally here, Taylor Montgomery. Typically, they don't go nuts for 4 straight days. That rarely happens, even the very best putters. And sometimes the worst putter in the world will get hot for a couple days. We always talk about that. Putting is the most volatile. It can go hot and cold at a moment's notice. So when a guy's too hot or too cold, you figure it's going to kind of water's going to find its level eventually. And I think that could be coming for Smotherman. Aaron Rye was a guy that I played prior to this tournament, tipping off at 40 to 1. I think he's absolutely a guy you want to take a look at. Shane Lowry, you mentioned, the tournament favorite coming in. He's done extremely well at this tournament before. Michael Brennan, maybe a sneaky guy to look for, maybe a top 10 player, something like that. He did win out here in Southern Utah, first win of his career. So he's been through that before. Don't know if he's going to do it again, but maybe a finish position on Brennan. And then my guy, Daniel Berger, who I played prior to this tournament beginning as well for an outright win. What all these guys have in common, first of all, they've all won before multiple times in the case of Berger and Lowry. They're all hitting the ball very, very well, but their putting is average or below average. So again, what we talk about with the putter, if the putter heats up at all for any of these guys, I think they've got a real shot to move up that leaderboard.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're seeing right now they have this. I would say that the Smotherman price, it almost looks like protection, right? They do seem a little scared to, hey, hang a 4-1, make them bet it, right? But guys are in the mix here. Taylor Moore, Echeverria, Shane Lowry. You can just kind of see where these prices are checking in here right now at the COG. And then, as you've kind of told us, Brady, we're really going to be taking off after this tournament, right? We're going to get some of these signatures, and before you know it, we'll be playing at Augusta.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, we came in off of 2 straight signature events with Pebble and Riviera. Then we kind of have a little tweener here for the Cognizant, which is, it's a decent field, but it's not great. And then we go gangbusters. We go Arnold Palmer Invitational, signature event, Players Championship, maybe the best field in all of golf and arguably the 5th major, what they call it. And then, we're on the doorstep of Augusta after that. So we're getting into the thick. By the way, who's you betting Scotty for the Masters? Do you have anything in pocket for the green jacket?
No. That's one of those that I turn like I have to bet before it plays, but I'm not there yet, Brady, where I have a guy like 3 months out. I'm like, you won't believe
get you there soon. Okay.
At some point.
Before March is finished.
well, maybe we'll do then again, maybe we pair someone with an NCAA tournament outright winner. I sound like Carver. We'll be right back. It's Game Time Decisions.
Nick Kurtz will receive American League first place votes this year. You gonna buy that, George? You want to sell that? I believe we had Caminero, we had Raleigh, we had Aaron Judge,
Bobby Witt. He'll be there as well. I'm a big fan of Kurtz. No, we're not related, by the way, for those who are wondering. Okay, not as far as I know. I keep getting that.
You're a little taller than him.
Right, just a wee bit. Yeah, Nick is a.
Be like this, actually.
I'm not sure Nick would fill in his room. Yeah, that's something like that. But my only problem with him, I think he's gonna have a great year. All right, I think he's gonna have a very good year here. He's gonna be fantastic. I picked 12 in my points league. If he's there at 12, I'm taking him. I'm just grabbing him here. I don't have a second round pick, but I'm taking him anyway. My only issue is this: they're not gonna be very good, right? They may be a little better than expected. Maybe they approach 500, maybe. But it's tough to get MVP votes when you're not winning. All right, you're not in the playoff contention or anything like that. Are you going to be able to beat out an Aaron Judge? I'll buy. I think he's going to have a big season. I think he can get 1. I don't think he'll be it won't be top 3 or anything. But I think he can get 1. Yes, I'll buy.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this. I was really I understand what the metric said, and a lot of smart people, George, that I asked told me that Judge probably was the MVP. But man, Cal Raleigh couldn't win MVP with that season that he had last year. And I understand all we're doing is asking questions about first place votes, but don't think there's a lot of love for the voters with Sacramento, no matter what Nick Kurtz does. I'm going to sell this.
Fantasy Sports Today, Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, here on SportsGrid, let's get to the live board. Great stuff as always from Brady Cannon. The Cavs are up by 8 at the end of that first quarter against the Pistons, 35-27. Good start, obviously, for a first-half team total under. If you look right now, where did that go wrong for Detroit? Couldn't get to the line and turned it over a little bit much. That didn't make a ton of threes. It wasn't anything disastrous, right? The Pistons have put themselves a little bit behind the 8 ball, but they still sit as live money line favorites, and they probably should ultimately sit as live money line favorites. We'll see if Cleveland can stay hot for a game. I think that is absolutely possible. I think Cleveland becomes a really interesting watch now from a betting perspective. If you look, they follow up this trip to Detroit with a Sunday game at Brooklyn. I would just assume no way Donovan Mitchell or James Harden are playing in those games. Like, we don't have real timetables on these guys, but what is the point, right? Brooklyn is just a non-existent team, and they can win likely at Brooklyn with anybody. Like, when's the next Brooklyn win? A 15-43 team who have lost 6 in a row and are right now just getting underway against Boston. They follow it up by going to Cleveland. Brooklyn, I'm speaking about. Massive dog. 2 in a row at Miami and then at Detroit. Significant dog. Home game against Memphis? If Memphis benches everyone? How many spots on the Brooklyn Nets remaining calendar will we see them priced as favorites? 1? Home at Indiana, April 9th? Home against Washington on a Sunday, April 5th? I may or may not have spoke to my lovely fiance about could we make that game? Because, maybe we'd make it a field trip. I know there's a bunch of people that'd be interested. And I was quickly reminded, the wedding is quite close. And it's hard to cut out a Sunday for Nets Wizards. I mean, not a ton of Keyshawn George respect in that reply. Not a ton of Danny Wolf love, but kind of get it. You kind of get it. We've got ourselves Celtics Nets off and running here. Boston's up early 7-2. We'll see when our guy Peyton Pritchard checks in. That's going to be Chris's best bet here on this Friday night. Sam's best bet, it's Buffalo action, obviously. It's Josh Doan, anytime goal. Sabres up 1-0 on Florida. Do you think Doan scored? Nope. Does he have a point? Nope. It's all right. They're up 1-0 on Florida. I didn't bet the game. Sharp by me. Scoreless, Vegas and Washington. Okay, that's where we're at right now. Perhaps the most important tracking that we should be doing, though, is Western Michigan, Miami of Ohio. Because Western Michigan is a right now minus 250 live money line favorite. Make it minus 265. If Miami of Ohio loses this game, I think it is a lock that their outright at large hopes are done. You have to realize that a loss here being won, for them to then need an at-large bid, there would have to be a second loss to come. I do not think Miami of Ohio survives a loss. They are 2 of 13 from 3. They have offensively not really found much of a rhythm in this game. They are just defensively not great. And it feels like this, eventually their card is going to get pulled team. It's finally happening. That's where it seems like we are right now. If you want to, push down, play their money line, I'm not mad at it. They've been down before in some tough spots. But the books are pushing out some confident Western Michigan numbers. This is a huge, huge result. Bubbling. Huge result. And I would imagine that Miami of Ohio, with a loss here, will have to win the MAC tournament. And here's the funny thing. If you've not been tracking this story a ton, or if you are not deep into college basketball, which would be totally logical, you would think this is a non-story. They're just obviously going to win the MAC tournament. I am not so sure Miami of Ohio will even be favored to win that tournament. They are not the number 1 team on KenPom out of the conference. That is Akron. Just so to be clear, it does not mean that. What it means is from a power rating perspective, from a betting perspective, it is very likely that Akron would have the edge. maybe there's a swath of money that comes in on Miami of Ohio because people might think, hey, this is an actionable trend, right? Miami of Ohio is, a team who's won all these games. They're obviously not going to squander this opportunity. And sure, but there will also be people who play Akron because if they're not booked as favorites, they'll think that's a mistake. It's what we're going to see. Look, there weren't a lot of acceptable losses that were available in this conference, but Western Michigan certainly isn't one of them. A 10-18 basketball team who is outside of the top 250. I assume that this is can I easily find is this a quad 4 game? Probably, right? Western Michigan in the net is, come on now. It's 285. It's 285. It's going to be a quad 4 loss. Let's get a look at it. We're going to go through best bets on the other side. Miami of Ohio, right now in the net, 48th. Let's see where that is when this updates if they lose tonight against Western Michigan. We're going to get you best bets on the way out of here. It's a Friday night, live on SportsGrid.
Nick Kurtz will receive American League first place votes this year. You gonna buy that, George? You want to sell that? I believe we had Caminero, we had Raleigh, we had Aaron Judge,
Bobby Witt. He'll be there as well. I'm a big fan of Kurtz. No, we're not related, by the way, for those who are wondering. Okay, not as far as I know. I keep getting that.
You're a little taller than him.
Right, just a wee bit. Yeah, Nick is a.
Be like this, actually.
I'm not sure Nick would fill in his room. Yeah, that's something like that. But my only problem with him, I think he's gonna have a great year. All right, I think he's gonna have a very good year here. He's gonna be fantastic. I picked 12 in my points league. If he's there at 12, I'm taking him. I'm just grabbing him here. I don't have a second round pick, but I'm taking him anyway. My only issue is this: they're not gonna be very good, right? They may be a little better than expected. Maybe they approach 500, maybe. But it's tough to get MVP votes when you're not winning. All right, you're not in the playoff contention or anything like that. Are you going to be able to beat out an Aaron Judge? I'll buy. I think he's going to have a big season. I think he can get one. I don't think he'll be it won't be top 3 or anything. But I think he can get one. Yes, I'll buy.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this. I was really I understand what the metric said, and a lot of smart people, George, that I asked told me that Judge probably was the MVP. But man, Cal Raleigh couldn't win MVP with that season that he had last year. And I understand all we're doing is asking questions about first place votes, but don't think there's a lot of love for the voters with Sacramento, no matter what Nick Kurtz does. I'm going to sell this.
Fantasy Sports Today, Friday starting at 3 p.m. only on SportsGrid.
All right, game time decisions on a Friday night. We're going to put best bets on the board here in just a moment. I want to let people know I don't mean to be vague, but there's just a certain way to do things. But I also want to be honest with everyone who gives us our time on a nightly basis here on Game Time Decisions. This show will be here Monday. I will be here Monday. It will look different. I think it will be in a good way. I think people will be excited, okay? I would hope to add full clarity as soon as possible. So ideally that means not Monday at 6 o'clock. But, hey, that's the longest you'd have to wait, okay? That is the longest you'd have to wait. And as much as I would imagine you might like this show, I am sure you can find things in the meantime to occupy your thoughts. It's going to look a little different. It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. I am really looking forward to it. I'll be here Monday, 6 o'clock, Game Time Decisions. All right? And that's where we're at, okay? Want to give that to you as much as we can. That's what we got, okay? On a Friday night. College basketball today, that's going to be on Saturday. Great games. Myself, Coach James Young. Full ranked action. It flows perfectly. You've got Duke, Virginia in the ACC. Ton of Big 12 action. Arizona, Kansas, Iowa State, Texas Tech. You get the Tennessee Bama game. Florida, Arkansas is a huge one. Gonzaga, St. Mary's late night. Such a good slate. Super excited to break that down. And that's where we will be tomorrow. So we will see you, of course, tomorrow in the mix. We mentioned the big item that is live right now. That is Miami of Ohio, trailing Western Michigan by 5. And they are currently a live moneyline dog. I know that could be tempting to people. I'm not saying it's a bad bet. I'm not personally making it because it has felt like a team who is going to lose all season long. And perhaps this is that spot. I know I tried it last Thursday or Friday against Bowling Green. Didn't work out. Maybe this is it. If it does come in, I think it'll be one of two upsets on the ranked slate tonight. I like Illinois up against Michigan. And it's the best bet for our guy, AJ, added to his card. And the best bet board right now has one more pending outside of Illinois. That's my Knicks minus 8.5 bet. We do have two live right now. It's a goal scorer prop for Josh Doan from Yarnell, and it's Peyton Pritchard to make not one, not two, but 3 threes here tonight up against the Brooklyn Nets. That game just getting underway. I don't know if Peyton Pritchard's even checked into the game just yet, but he'll get out there. He'll start firing as Boston looks for a high-scoring effort against Brooklyn. Right now, we're also tracking this Cavs team up right now on the Detroit Pistons, playing a Detroit team total under 118.5. Great start for that bet, so we're going to continue to root that in and hope that comes home. Mention that Knicks right there, minus the 8.5. Can you get 7.5s in market right now? Moving the other way. Here we go. No, looks like 8.5 everywhere. Let's double check. Let's check one or two more spots. 8.5, all good. We're 8.5. I think this is a step-up spot for the Knicks. We've seen it. And I think Milwaukee off of 2 straight wins is good. I think it maybe inflates the number a little bit. I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis are not a 3 straight win team to me. Is that great analysis when they won 3 in a row on the road, lost, and now have won 2 straight? Maybe it's terrible analysis. We're going to find out. I think this is a spot in the Knicks roll. I think offensively they really pack a punch here tonight against Milwaukee. To just hyper-focus one more time, though, on your Illinois-Michigan game and just really what is such a massive, massive opportunity for the Illini. I think all the games we followed this week, you could argue that St. John's UConn is the biggest because of what UConn did to St. John's. They decimated a top 15 team in the country, certainly a top 25. So much to the point that we started to say, hey, UConn 1 seed? Yet there's a lot of things that say UConn doesn't belong anywhere near the 1 line. I could as easily argue UConn belongs on the 3 as they do as the 1. Very easily. Not hard at all. There's 8 teams in front of them on Ken Palm and 8 teams in front of him in the net. And I can count. Argument made. Illinois, though, tonight is one of those teams that can take that 1 seed that maybe UConn is angling towards. But in order to do that, they need to win at home tonight against Michigan. They need to make that statement. Let's see if they do. I think they will. I know we'll talk about it tomorrow on college basketball today, and it'll be up next year with more coverage on SportsGrid. See you Monday.